Hey, this is very, very interesting. We're continuing to cover the soft about face happening on Fox News with regard to the failed former President Donald Trump's new candidacy in 2024. And Fox and Friends host Brian Kilmeade is really at the center of a lot of this. And what is taking place, sometimes there's this feeling in when you do what I do, that we have to explain a phenomenon in the absolute most extreme black and white terms. Fox has completely abandoned Trump and is now hostile to him and will do anything they can to prevent him from being president. No, that's not what happened. What is happening on Fox is that a number of hosts, Brian Kilmeade is certainly one of them, have done a soft turn away from Trump where it seems pretty clear that even if it's not about personally what they want, but as the role that they play on their channel dictates, they want to be friendly to the idea of a DeSantis candidacy and presidency. If it doesn't happen, they're not going to completely cut Trump off such that they have no access to him. If Trump really is going to be president for another 4 years, Fox would be very poorly positioned if they lost access to Trump because of adversarial or antagonistic relationships. On the other hand, they do want to be there if indeed someone else takes control of the Republican Party and ultimately the presidency, like Ron DeSantis. And so we've seen Brian Kilmeade do a number of different things, go out on the street and try to find DeSantis supporters or play catch with Ron DeSantis in a total softball interview, as we looked at yesterday, this sort of thing. Here is something that actually did surprise me a little bit, which is that Brian Kilmeade brings up Trump now seems more disciplined than he did at one point. Like, for example, compared to when he had lunch with white supremacists. It is genuinely surprising to me that Brian Kilmeade is even willing to acknowledge that. Take a look at this segment.
Since he went and visited East Palestine, stopped having lunch with white supremacists, and has got a very disciplined message. According to the Emerson poll, he's got 73% approval rating among Republicans with high school degrees or below. And he's winning in almost every state outside California. And I'll add this to it. It would be interesting if he does not win Iowa and you go to and Governor Sununu gets into New Hampshire, and Governor Sununu is so popular, winning 3 terms as governor there. He could be out and on a bit of a roll. This is the most disciplined I've ever seen him, even compared to 2016. If you see his team, you get text messages every day.
Okay. So he said, this is the most disciplined I've seen Trump since he stopped having lunch with white supremacists, or as Brian Kilmeade calls them, supremists, which is a different word, but I totally understand what Brian Kilmeade means. This is the Trump pivot that, remember, is a conditional pivot. It's a tentative pivot. It's a sort of depending on what happens pivot. We'd kind of rather someone other than Trump be the nominee. But if it is Trump, we can't totally abandon him because we're going to want access for the next 4 years. Now, this is quite a low bar for a presidential candidate, right? It's an understatement to call this a low bar. Trump has never seemed this disciplined, particularly since he stopped having lunches with white supremacists. The mainstream media won't tell you, but guys, it's been months since Trump last dined with white supremacists, and we've got to give him credit for that. It is a stunningly low bar, but it is a little bit surprising to a degree that Brian Kilmeade is even talking about the white supremacist lunch. And it does seem like another one of those subtle digs. We'd rather someone else, but I'm also framing this as a positive thing. We'd rather someone else, but Trump is looking pretty damn disciplined at this point in time. Super interesting. And Fox, of course, wants to host Republican primary debates when they get going, never mind presidential debates. And so to some degree, they have to do this. Now, if we look at the latest polling, what does the polling say about what's going on? It's really a mixed bag. There's a new Morning Consult poll rated B- where Trump is winning over DeSantis by 24. That's a poll that includes a ton of other people, including Pence and Haley and Liz Cheney and Abbott and a whole bunch of different people. There's a new CNN SSRS poll, not as well rated of a poll. That one's a C+. C+, B- is pretty similar. That one has DeSantis ahead of Trump even with the inclusion of Nikki Haley and Mike Pence and Tim Scott and a bunch of other people. These are two polls conducted essentially at the same time by very similarly ranked pollsters with a 26-point difference, Trump plus 24 versus DeSantis plus 2. Very, very interesting, but it cannot be ignored that the vast majority of these polls, public policy polling, Premise, University of North Florida is an exception, and that's looking specifically at Florida. But in the national polling, Trump's winning most of them, even with this outlier CNN poll. So Fox News is doing what Fox News is most inclined to do. How do we maintain access for future profitability and ratings? That is, at the end of the day, the number one priority. That explains Fox hosts caught in text messages acknowledging that all of the election lies were indeed lies, but saying our viewers believe something else, and so we've got to keep going with that narrative on TV. Expect this to continue, and it is really wacky stuff. That Brian Kilmeade clip will be on my YouTube channel, which you can find at youtube.com/The David Pakman Show, and a Spanish version of this very story will be on the Spanish YouTube channel, which you can find at davidpakman.com/Spanish. Plastic, it's everywhere we look, and not enough is being done about it. 100 billion plastic bags are used and thrown away every year. Here's something super simple you can do to reduce plastic and help the planet a little bit. Our sponsor, Hold On Bags, is the company making plastic-free trash bags and zip seal kitchen bags. They're just as strong and high quality as the plastic bags you're used to. Hold On Bags are 100% plant-based and home compostable, meaning they break down in just weeks, not decades. Their zip seal kitchen bags come in sandwich or gallon size to fit all of your needs, whether it's carrots or crayons. At home, I put all of my food waste in a Hold On trash bag, throw it in the compost pile, and when I throw a Hold On trash bag in my dumpster, I love knowing it's not filling our landfills and oceans with plastic. Single-use plastics harm the planet at every stage: production, disposal, decomposition. Join the growing movement away from single-use plastic. These products are really great. It's so easy to make the switch. Go to holdonbags.com/Pakman and you'll get 20% off with code Pakman at checkout. The link is down below.